Continuing on with logos, now we're going to create this logo over here where we have circles that are intertwining with each other. The way to do this is to have a full circle, but then I would cut the circle like this, and instead of that part being on top of the other object, I would put it below the other object, and that would create the intertwining effect. The trick is how to get the gradients to coincide, and that's what I'm going to show right now. So first I'm going to create a circle. Now if I choose view and snap to grid, I can create it exactly aligned to the grid, and shift to get a perfect circle, alt to create from the center. Alright, I want to have a gradient on the stroke, so I'm gonna give the stroke a thickness, say 20. I don't want to have any fill, so I'm gonna set the fill to none. If I select the stroke and try to give it a gradient, it doesn't work. I can only give a gradient to a fill, but if I selected the object and went to object and expand, I can expand the stroke and therefore convert it to a fill or a shape. So if I expand the stroke with its current thickness, I convert that to a shape which has a fill, and therefore I can give it a gradient. Alright, so the gradient is controlled from here. I selected gradient from down there. It already has colors, therefore if I go to a color, I can select it from here. Let's start with green and another green, and in the middle I need something bright, so I'm gonna choose something close to white. Now I'm gonna bring, because that's the center here and that's the edge, you see that's the center also, so I'm gonna I wanna just have the gradient on the edge, so I'm gonna push these to the right. Alright, if I wanted to have the same green, I can delete this, select this and click to add it. Or press Alt and move to create another color stop. Yeah, the gradient is radial. So if I go to gradient here and show the options, I have a radial gradient. Linear will give me this. It's not what I want in this case. Alright, so that's what I have so far. I'm gonna make it a bit darker to create more contrast. Alright, now I want to create the other one. So Alt and move with the shift to keep it on the same horizontal. Now I want to cut this. Alright, now I'm gonna actually grab this and center it so that it's centered to the grid. You'll see why I'm centering in a second. Then I will move it back in. Alright, so I want to cut this. So to cut this, I'm gonna use the knife tool, which is found under the eraser, and I'll create a slice here and another slice there. So now that I cut it, if I right click and choose ungroup, I would have access to individual parts, but I see that the gradient got messed up. I need to use the same gradient as this. So I'm gonna go to my gradient tool, and that's the center. That's why I centered it here. I'm gonna click and release at the top, which is the end, and therefore now this gradient has the same radius as that one, and therefore it will work. So if I selected both of these now and selected the green, I can set it to blue, and also this set it to blue, and now I'll move them in and select that one and control left bracket to move it down underneath the first one. Alright, I'll select both of these, Alt with the shift, select this, just that part, control left bracket, and change the colors of the gradient. Of course, I just have to select this one and push it back. So when I change the colors, I would get something like this.